Hello everyone, my name is Keb, and you're watching Chapter 9 of my Fire Emblem 12 Lunatic mode Blind LTC. To see what I mean by Blind LTC, take a look at the description. But in short, this is my first time playing Lunatic, I haven't planned ahead, but I'm trying to LTC every map, one chapter at a time. This is another one that gave me quite a bit of trouble during my first playthrough. It's the first desert map of the game, and I took one look at it this time around and thought that the 20 speed Draco Knights were going to be the biggest challenge. But it turns out that they are actually fairly easily dealt with, and that the true terror of this map are actually the mages and Etzel's AI. Mages are basically always scary, and they average 26 attack here, which is enough to 2-shot everyone except for barriered up Chris and Pala, who still get 3-shot. Because mages are unpenalized on desert terrain, it pretty much means that a lot of them will have overlapping ranges, and hence we'll need some AI manipulation to get through them without any deaths. Speaking of AI, Etzel really adds another dimension of complexity to this map. Marth effectively needs to be in 3 places at once now. There is Minerva's village, the gate, and also wherever Etzel ends up. We can always send Marth towards Minerva and then rescue him back towards the gate, but if Etzel decides to wander off, then that would make it really difficult to complete this map in a low number of turns. To help with this, Aran is finally getting the chance to dust off his lance and contribute as a Draco Knight. We basically need someone to lure Etzel towards Minerva's village such that Marth can recoup both of them at the same time. And since this is a desert map, the lure must be a flyer in order to make it to Minerva on time. Aran has the lowest bulk and luck combo, which makes him the perfect juicy target for Etzel. For all of the difficulty that this map brings, we do also get an extremely important resource here, and that is the boots. In a more casual run, these boots could go to your best combat unit, so probably either Chris or Pala, in order to increase their overall impact. But in an LTC setting, the boots pretty much always have to go to Marth, since his movement is always the limiting factor for how quickly a chapter can be completed. In fact, the boots will already save us a turn in this chapter. We start off by having Yulia and Marisha cast Barrier on Chris and Pala. Pala has been given the Aquarius shard, so she's getting a total bonus of +8 to her resistance, which is barely enough to consistently survive 2 mage hits, regardless of stat variation. Ideally, Yulia levels HP here so that Wendell has a turn 1 heal target, but her growths kinda suck, and Wendell is close to C-stabs anyways, so whatever. Our flyers begin charging into the desert, led by Chris, who will be one-rounding 3 Draco Knights during the first enemy phase. His health would get a bit too low if the nearby mage also attacked him, so we've placed Pala in position to bait his attack. Even though Pala has the Aquarius shard and hence 1 more res than Chris, the mage still ends up going for her because Chris has 25 effective speed with the Scorpio shard, which gives him enough avoid to lower his expected damage below Pala's. Those exact calculations are on the screen. This far left Draco Knight is 1 damage short of killing Pala, and so he goes for Katria instead. Pala needs every drop of health that she has, so this was very important. It's also why Pala is holding the Taurus shard. That extra point of defense was the difference maker here. Julian gets danced by Fina, and then Convoy warps the boots to Marth so that he can use them on turn 2. It is possible to Convoy warp the Thief Staff on turn 1, so that Marth can also use the boots on turn 1. And this does let him reach Minerva as early as turn 3, which opens up the possibility of a 3-turn clear with 2 rescue uses. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a way to also recruit Etzel without taking at least 4 turns, so that ended up not really being worth it. Chris dodged here, but he didn't need to. Although the extra health will allow us to get some more lance rank, since he would have had to switch to an axe against the remaining Draco Knights to get weapon triangle advantage. Katria has to use unreliable T-range to finish off this Draco Knight, because Etzel moved more down than right this time, so we need to stay out of his range. The charging enemies will identify the closest player unit and start gunning it towards them by taking the shortest path. Etzel is trying to move towards Chris here, but because there isn't any terrain between them, there ends up being multiple different shortest paths, so the AI just selects one at random. There are 4 different ways that Etzel can move during the first enemy phase, but the only one that is unacceptable is if he moves straight down, so overall the strategy is still pretty reliable. Now that a lot of the nearby enemies have been cleared out, Aran can get in position and start baiting Etzel towards Minerva's village. Pala would die if both of these mages were to attack her, but Wendell baits over the first one while staying out of the range of the second. He actually has more res than Pala after taking the Aquarius shard, but just like turn 1 with Chris, Pala has enough avoid to have lower expected damage. Because of Etzel's movement path on turn 1 enemy phase, he is actually in range to attack both Wendell and Aran on turn 2. Even though they both have 4 luck, Etzel seems to prefer going for Wendell over Aran despite his significantly higher res. I suspect that this might be because Wendell is already kind of low on health from tanking a hit earlier, which maybe makes him a juicier target to the AI. Either way, we can consistently make Etzel go for Aran by boosting Wendell's luck with the Libra shard. This is where Chris would have had to convoy warp the Steel Lance away to equip the Steel Axe if he hadn't dodged that mage earlier. This is such an awesome serious level up, especially because he didn't gain any luck. We've trade chained the Aquarius shard from Pala to Marisha to bump her up to 4 magic. Every 2 points of magic is an extra point of healing in this game, so Marisha's physic is 1 point better this way. This wasn't actually necessary here because Chris dodged that mage earlier. You can see how little health Chris has left here after tanking 2 swarms, and that's even after dodging a mage hit. Having an axe equipped here would remove the 2 bonus might that the Draco Knight gets from having A rank lances, which lets him barely survive. But again, he dodged, so none of that actually matters. I'm feeding this Draco Knight kill to Katria because I think that I can squeeze one last level out of her before promoting her for Henri's Way. Marth recruits Minerva on turn 4, and now that Aran has done his job to bring Etzel to the village, he flies out of Etzel's range to allow Minerva to bait Etzel for the last leg of his journey. Marth recruits Etzel, who immediately gets some staff grinding in by healing the damage dealt to a Minerva. Thanks to a dance from Fina, Marth is immediately ready to seize upon being rescued this turn. I was considering sending Chris to buy some silver axes, but we'll be getting a free one soon from Daros in Chapter 12, so I decided against it. Instead, Chris hits the save point, which helps Pal a somewhat unreliable boss kill. Before that though, Aram picks up a couple of door keys from the shop. There are a couple of chapters where I think I may need them, but worst case I can just resell them for a slight amount of lost gold. The hardest part of this run so far has been trying to predict what kind of items I'll be needing for future chapters. Yulia and Marisha have made up a lot of ground this chapter in terms of staff rank and experience. I think that Marisha should be able to promote in time for Henri's Way, though I don't know if that will actually make a difference. I was going to rig a speed level up here because it's just so convenient, but Pal got it on the first try. What a legend. Finally, for the third chapter in a row, Marth gets rescued to the seize point, and that's chapter 9 completed in 5 turns. I'll see you next time.